everybody, it's Roxabox90 here with another Top 10 EDH Commander card countdown. So today we're going to delve into the Gruul colored cards for EDH Commander, following the same criteria as always. That being that 1, the cards themselves are Gruul cards, obviously. 2, that they focus for Gruul, but also are more useful in 3 and 5 color decks as well. And of course the last is that the cards themselves start from more niche, the ones that are more specific for certain decks, and go towards more universal. It doesn't have to be completely universal, but we want to have it able to use in many archetypes and decks. So I realized in the Boros video we didn't have honorable mentions, and I want to get those into the video itself so you guys can see them. Let's start off with honorable mentions. Thar the Insatiable. He's a legendary Helion. He works really well as a commander because he has Devour X, where X is the number of creatures devoured this way, so the Devour can scale up, and he works really well with, you big creatures, you just sack him into him and he becomes enormous. So tokens he works incredibly well with. He's a very nice aggro, potentially Voltron general, and he's really a casual fun card. But he doesn't fit onto this list because there are other better legendary creatures, in my opinion. That doesn't mean he's not awesome, he just isn't for this list. Then we also have Decimate, which is an amazing removal spell, but it suffers the problem that it hits 4 targets that are mandatory. You can't have it come into play and destroy only an artifact and a land. It has to hit artifact, creature, land, enchantment. And while this is huge value and will likely work in a multiplayer game, it is a very limiting card. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use it, just not for this list. Then we also have Vengeful Rebirth. This card is seen a lot of play in a lot of decks because it works really well with big creatures, but for me I find it a very expensive spell given it's a sorcery and you can't reuse it because you exile it. For me, this card, it didn't make the cut. Borborygmos Enraged. He is huge, a lot of fun, cool general that works with very interesting archetypes and builds, but I don't like him that much and he doesn't fit the criteria very well on this list. Now let's get to the actual list itself, starting at number 10 with Killer Instinct. This card is awesome. Look at the flavor, guys. Take the bridge, men. Victory, victory, retreat. It's such a hilarious, awesome flavor text. And the card itself is visually stunning. What it to do, it's 6 at the beginning of your upkeep, reveal a top card. If it's a creature, you put into play. The creature gains haste and sacrifice on the turn. So for those of you guys who know the card Sneak Attack, check this guy out. It's a sneak attack variant, but it's consistent, and as long as you can check the top of your library to make sure that it's big creatures always going into play, which many Gruul decks and even Naya decks work with, this card can be huge value over the game and can just beat home. Imagine you reveal a Craterhoof Behemoth, which is not at all unlikely. Gets into play with haste. Even if you have to sacrifice in a turn, you're winning. It's a great card. Number 9, we have Ulash the Hateseed. I like this card much more as a commander because it does more stuff. It's kind of like a mini Marith from the new commander set. I like that you have multiple options with the card. It plays with 1/1 counters. It plays with Saplings. It works really well with Gruul because it's kind of it does a lot of what Gave does and Marith does, but does it in Gruul, which makes it more useful in more decks. And in of itself is a pretty fun commander. I like it a lot, and that's why it's number 9. Number 8, we have Rook, thar the Unbowed. He is huge, awesome for Gruul, especially creature-heavy decks. The problem is he has to attack every single turn, which for 6/6 is not a terrible thing, but given that he doesn't really have a lot of aggressive nature to him, he's vigilance and reach. I mean, he's anti-flying, but he's also not going to give you that trample that you need. But I like that if you run him in very creature-heavy decks, he is ridiculous. He really hurts control players. Even in EDH Commander, 6 damage cannot be laughed at. He is awesome, but he has a narrow archetype, and he has to attack each turn. Number 7, we have Xenagos the Reveler. I like Planeswalkers in general, especially when they're good, and he is. Being able to ramp up is huge. Being able to make creatures is good, especially in aggressive builds. And his final ability is probably one of the weaker ones on EDH Commander, but if you're running a deck that's very creature and land heavy, he fits a very nice mold, and I think he fits really well in EDH Commander. Then we have at 6, Sarkhan Vol. He's another Planeswalker, and he is awesome. He gives all your creatures 1/1 in haste, which is really important, especially for Voltron, but aggro decks in general. Being able to steal your opponent's best creature until end of turn, yes, but you get it into your attack. I mean, someone plays an Eldrazi, you take it, it's a big deal. Stealing creatures, especially in this way in aggro decks, is very good. And putting 5/4/4 red dragon creature flying into play, also not all that great, but if you're running a creature aggressive deck or a token deck, this can matter a lot. He's a very strong overall Planeswalker for Gruul. Then we have the new Xenagos God of Revels at number 5. He is indestructible, big-bodied. He's not that hard to get the devotion off of, and the fact is his ability happens every single turn, and it gives haste and X+X, so your huge creatures become bigger, your commander becomes huge. Voltron is very, very possible and very awesome with Xenagos. He is a very effective card that can work in so many decks, making them stronger and more aggressive, and he is a great addition. I'm really happy I held off till he was printed to make this list. Number 4, we're getting towards the more universal cards here. Hold Breach is fantastic. It's originally actually from, I think, Invasion or Apocalypse, an older set. You choose one, destroy an artifact, or destroy an enchantment, or destroy an artifact and enchantment. And this matters because if it said you had to destroy an artifact and enchantment, that was it, then you couldn't play it if there was only an artifact on the field. This gives it versatility. It's 2 for 2 most of the time. 2 for 2 removal, pretty solid. Fits into a lot of decks. Really great card. Number 3, we have Clan Defiance. This card is from Gatecrash, guys, so it's pretty recent, but it's awesome. The fact that you can choose one or more, which you almost always will do one or more, dealing X damage on a scale like this is fantastic because you need to get your bang for your buck when you're running aggro. And this card hits players, hits creature with flying, hits creature without flying, and you can hit 3 separate targets for the same cost. It's pure value, guys. Fits into just about any deck running these colors. It's great. Number 2, we have Spellbreaker Behemoth. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's scary. Awesome. He's like Mufasa on steroids. He's 4 for a 5/5. Can't be countered. He's a beast, so he could work with certain beast tribal decks, which is more niche, but awesome. He can't be countered. Creature spells you control with power 5 or greater can't be countered, and this matters a lot because there are aggressive commanders that have 5 or more power, and he makes them hugely viable because then they can't be countered. The most important thing is that any deck running Gruul, yes, he's a red and 2 green in his cost, but any deck, even a 3-color deck running Gruul, kind of needs this guy if you want to be aggressive long term, because he's the only card that prevents combo and control from stopping your later game huge drops, and he really is super powerful. Colors, this guy is the bomb, and he's kind of a requirement for any serious aggro deck running his colors. Number 1, Vexing Shusher. Shh, it's a Goblin Shaman. He's awesome, guys. There's just no saying anything else. He is 2 for a 2/2. He's hybrid, so you can't get more universal than that. Can't be countered, which is important for aggro decks, right? What's most important is that no one's going to want to counter him, right? Until they realize what his hybrid ability does. You can do it as many times as you want. Target spell can't be countered by spells or abilities. This means any spell you cast. Creature, instant, sorcery, enchantment. Anything you cast this guy for 1 extra mana, that's it, makes it uncounterable. This is huge in a format where control and, I'll say combo, but really so many decks, even aggro decks, run counter spells and prevention. He is a necessary ingredient for basically every serious Gruul player to consider in your deck. He's one of the best utility cards. Unbelievable. If you're not running him in your deck, you're doing something wrong. So thanks for watching, everyone. Tap that like button and then head down to the comment section. Let me know both what you think of the video, but also what the next guild color is you're interested in. If you are new to the channel and want to see more top 10 videos, check in and subscribe. And as always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.